We all have stories about money. Some are funny, some are embarrassing, others make us cringe, while others leave us empowered. Far too often, these stories are left unshared. Money is such a taboo subject, but quiet as it's kept, our experiences with money are more common than we think. When we share stories, we feel less alone in our experiences, and we discover new strategies for navigating life with money. I'm your host, Melissa Mazard. You're listening to Memories of Money, where our guests reveal their financial secrets and where you will learn practical lessons and principles for a life of financial health and prosperity. In this episode, Anthony shares details of his experiences with money, including early lessons from a caring professor that helped shape his financial journey. Continue listening to hear his perspective on finding happiness without money and being balanced with money.
My earliest memory of money, I have to say I was at least 7 or 8 years old. My mom actually had me go to the corner store by myself. This was the early 90s. She'll just give me money to go get some groceries, some milk and some bread, and then walk all the way back home. During that time frame, I actually saw a reflective sticker that I actually thought was actually pretty cool. Because back then, those were new. When you turn it left and right, it actually changed colors. And I got home and I gave my mom the groceries and I went up to my room with the sticker. My mom was like, I didn't give you enough for you to buy this sticker. Did you steal this sticker? And I was like, yes. So after she gave me a beating, I actually had to walk back to the store with my mom in tow while she still hit me from time to time, saying, apologize to the clerk and return the sticker. Money wasn't really looked at as something that we should have all the time, but actually to understand like, hey, people have a business to run and it's not right to steal. In order for businesses to continue to run, we need to spend money so that they can continue to be there. And it's not right to take away from the businesses that are supporting your community. My mom had me and my 2 other siblings, but also she was dating another guy who had 2 other kids. And so we had about 7 mouths to feed at one time, with my mom working 3 jobs and the guy she was dating at the time had at least 2 jobs. Money was actually pretty tight, but it wasn't really talked about too often. It's more so of like, hey, we need this to put food on the table. And if they don't have it, then lights were constantly being off. I remember we just going to the grocery store just for AC. Sometimes we'll go to the mall if it's super hot outside. Like that's where we kind of roamed and played and did things like that. But most of the time we were outside until the lights came on and we're back in the house. When it comes to school life, when it comes to money, you can tell the people who were kids that were doing free and reduced lunch. And practically everybody was having that program. It was a Black and brown community, so most of the kids that were ashy, they usually were constantly picked on or their clothes were dirty and so forth. My mom made sure that our image wasn't perceived that way, so she made sure we had clean clothes, made sure we had clean cuts, clean shoes, and so forth. My mom grew up also in the city, so she understood what it meant to be bullied just on the way you look. My mom actually wanted us to be part of the cool kids and be in the in crowd and make sure we had like name brand stuff and everything like that. But me personally, I didn't care for those. I didn't even know the brand names were. When I finally got into like, I would say like high school, that's when I kind of started looking into brands. My first job was being a waiter at a nursery home. The cool thing about working there is that the first thing they actually tell everybody that is employed there was to not get attached to the people. Main reason because they might not be there tomorrow. And I didn't even think about that until I say like maybe 2 months in. A person I used to serve all the time had passed away. And I was like, man, this really sucks. So everybody just kind of biding their time, just kind of hanging out until they tip over. And that was a hard look at life early on. And I was still in high school. So that was kind of my first job there. Making my own money didn't really change me in a sense. It was just more so I can amplify the things that I really wanted to do. Paying for like books and hanging out at parties, drinking alcohol. That's where I spent most of my money. It really wasn't like, hey, you should put it in savings and all this fun stuff. Nobody talked to me about it. And I had no clue about it till I would say maybe like my last year in my undergrad. While going to school, I did have about 4 jobs at one point. I was working in the movie theater. I was working at Geek Squad. I was working as a back of the line cook for Fridays. And I was also selling kitchen cutlery, which is Cutco. So I was doing all 4 of those at the same time. During my senior year, when I learned about money, it was actually from one of the professors. They sat me aside and they were talking about the circles that they were in outside of school. They were talking to him about how the Black and brown community utilized credit cards. And he was saying is that most of the time, most of the people will tell you that credit cards, they're bad to have. You should only have one and so forth. But he was like, if they're going to give you the credit, then keep it. You don't have to use it. He was like, in case you're ever down and out and you really need the money, you can actually leverage the credit cards to actually hold you over until you can actually do everything that you need to do. But also during that conversation, he talked about seed money and investing. What he did was put up an Excel spreadsheet and just went straight to the basics. So he started off and just kind of put a table across the top. He'll put like week 1, week 4, then 12 months. Then he'll do 5 years and 10 years. And then down the left side to do the different rows, you'll start off with $1, $5, $10, $25. And that's where he kind of kept it at because I'm young. I was still in school. So he was saying it's like, well, what does $1 a week look like? Then what does $1 the 12 weeks look like? And then 12 months and then 5 years and so on and so forth. He put that together with me explaining how he came to those numbers. He went on and printed it out. And when he printed it out, he gave me a copy of it. And I actually put that on the wall next to my bed. So I was actually tracking how much money am I putting from each paycheck to make sure that I could hit my goal of $10 a day, $2 a day, or whatever it was. And I'll go back to him as my accountability partner. I didn't know that term at the time, but he was my accountability partner and letting him know that I was actually able to reach $10 a day. And I was super excited about it. I went on and started looking into investing. So I opened up my first investment account outside of my employer to then start looking into what are the companies that I'm currently using. So at the time I was using Sprint. So I was like, let me invest in Sprint. And my first credit card, I think I had like a Capital One card. And I was like, let me go out and invest in Capital One as well. I am a person that will stretch the budget as much as possible because when it comes to maintaining things, it's a lot of nice to haves, but also there got to be a balance. And for me, it just seems like the opportunities that I really want to take advantage of, I try to take advantage of those as well without just thinking like, hey, I always have a safety net. I know how to make some money and I know that I can bounce back. Perfect example, when I left my prior relationship, I actually went to Alaska and Trinidad and Tobago. It was just back to back. I was like, you know what? I'm just wasting it all. I just need to get a new mindset, get out of the headspace, just change everything so I can build my self-confidence up again. Coming out of a relationship that I was feeling as though I was worthless and I was told I was worthless and I was told that I would never really amount to anything. I had to find myself again. What is it that I really want in life? And what really brings me joy. And to me is finding my love language, which is experiences. I like to learn about people. I like to meet new people. I like to have a good time and like seeing other people having a good time as well. Being happy and your sense of mindset really sets the tone on how you want your finances to be, how you want your life to be. Because if you can't find happiness while you're broke, you're not going to find happiness when you have money. The main reason why I purchased my first property is because I was listening to a lot of people that I've interviewed for my podcast, the About That Wallet podcast. They were talking about how to get into it, what their mindset was about it, what are their intentions to deal with this property. And I was thinking to myself, it's like, I've been listening to and interviewing people for over 2 years and I haven't done anything yet. So let me go ahead on and give it a shot. And I was actually planning on doing it more so of an owner occupied option, which means that I will live in one of the units and rent out the other one, which is some people use the term house hacking. It would have helped out with the mortgage, made things a little easier. So this property was actually a fixer-upper. It was something that I wouldn't like rent myself. because looking at the conditions that it was in, and I was like, there needs to be some modifications, like new flooring or just some fresh up paint. Some of the bathroom fixtures need to be done, getting the brand new kitchen and everything like that. Just seeing it, I was like, okay, I see the potential of what it could do. And that's one of the reasons why I went on and decided to get this property. Before I even started looking for the property, I had to talk with my realtor, and then my realtor linked me up with the broker. They just kind of chat back and forth, even offline, meaning with me not in the room. And they would come up with different deals for different properties. And I was actually looking for multi-unit properties that will allow me to live in one and rent out the other. So I was mostly looking for duplexes or quadplexes, or even triplexes, depending on the price. Having that understanding that your realtor is really there to help you, and you need to find a realtor that will break things down to an elementary understanding. Because even though I listen to these people on my show, it's a different thing when your name is actually on those dotted lines and you're responsible financially to perform at a certain level to make sure that you can pay the mortgage. And so that was one of the big takeaways, at least buying the first property. The advice that I would give somebody that's on their financial journey right now is to first build a habit of not giving up on yourself. And what I mean by that is showing up consistently, being there for yourself, listening to your body, listening to your wallet, actually. If your wallet says, hey, we're not clubbing today, we're going to be sitting here having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, watching Netflix kind of day, then that's what we're going to have to do. And build a habit of learning about yourself. Learning how to learn is the most important thing, because everybody learns a little differently. And I want to make sure that you know what clicks for you. You know what triggers that you have. You know your routines and you know your rewards. And then ultimately, you know what feelings that you get after all of that. People can keep up with me at About That Wallet on all the social platforms. I'm usually on Instagram, but more than likely you might see me on X as well. Ultimately, just listen to the podcast at About That Wallet. You can find me on Apple, Spotify, Google, Haiti, even Amazon.com. So I'm practically everywhere.
Thank you, Anthony, for sharing your experiences with us and for the work you do to help others on their financial journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know with a like and review, and stay tuned for the next one.